Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everybody from wherever you might be joining us from. Welcome to this World Technology Universities Network online event with Professor Tillal Eldabi from the University of Bradford. My name's Saffron, and I am the WTUN administrator, and I work within the Secretariat team for the WTUN based at the University of Bradford. I hope most of you do know about the WTUN, but for anyone who is unfamiliar, the World Technology Universities Network is a network comprised of 20 technologically focused universities from across the world, each committed to driving inclusive, sustainable innovation in teaching and research to address the challenges of the 21st century to benefit both people and place. WTUN member institutions work towards this shared goal through not only teaching and research commitments, but also through driving technical and social innovation and entrepreneurship, developing graduates who are global citizens and capable of being leaders of the future. Our members also work closely with governments, industry, and other organisations to promote interdisciplinary cooperation and demonstrable impact. So today, we're joined by University of Bradford's Professor Tillal Eldabi to share his work utilising artificial intelligence for good. With a PhD and a Master's of Science in Simulation Modelling and a Bachelor's of Science in Econometrics and Social Statistics, Professor Eldabi brings over 2 decades of expertise in applying simulation to solve complex healthcare challenges. He has published more than 100 scholarly articles and successfully supervised 18 doctoral students. His pioneering work includes developing tailored modelling tools for health economists and clinicians, as well as frameworks for hybrid simulation in healthcare systems. Professor Eldabi has led research projects worth over £2 million funded by prestigious bodies such as the EPSRC, Qatar National Foundation, and the UNDP. He's also the co-founder of the Simulation Workshop UK and the Hybrid Simulation Track at the Winter Simulation Conference. Beyond research, he's made significant contributions to education, including launching innovative programs like the MBA in Healthcare and Bachelor of Science in Business Analytics, and leading a groundbreaking PhD program in Bahrain that champions diversity and inclusion. Professor Tillal's talk today, titled AI for Good, Examples of Supporting SMEs and Victimised Communities, highlights how universities can deliver demonstrable societal impact through applied research in emerging technologies. Drawing on 2 projects from University of Bradford, he will explore how AI has been used both to support advocacy for marginalised communities and to enhance data-driven decision-making in local SMEs. These case studies exemplify how academic institutions can translate research into practical interventions that address real-world challenges and foster inclusive innovation. Following Professor Tillal's talk, we will engage in a facilitated questions and answers session, and attendees are welcome to put any questions in the question and answers function or the chat function during the session. Also, if you'd like to just shout out, I can unmute you as well. That's everything. We are recording this session as always so that people can watch it back on replay, just so everyone knows. And I will now hand over to Professor Tillal.
Thank you very much, Saffron, for the generous introduction. I hope to be able to, live up to the expectation that you built in the introduction. So today, I'm going to speak about 3 projects that we have done in relation to the use of AI for good purposes. Now, again, I want to dim your expectation a little bit. This is not a groundbreaking set of projects, but it's ideas I want to explore with you. And then from there, I want to see how we can actually improve the thinking and the conceptualization of using and utilizing AI for good. And when I say for good, I will give a detailed definition later, but I mean, here is actually providing AI for those who cannot access it and those who are not aware of its importance and its benefits, providing opportunities for them to utilize it for proper and appropriate benefits. So I think Saffron gave a detailed biography about myself, but I'd like to mention that I'm actually head of the Department of Business Analytics, Circular Economy, Entrepreneurship, which is short for BASE. And I work with a team of people in the 3 subjects in the analytics. artificial intelligence, and in the circular economy, and also in the entrepreneurship. Our focus for today is about AI, the first part of the department, and we run a very successful MSc applied AI and that in applied AI and data analytics, which is one of the first MSCs in the field in the UK, and it's been a successful program that is housing students from within the UK and overseas. The reason I'm actually bringing this to the attention of the audience is that the three projects that I'm going to talk about, although I said I'm to Saffron earlier, I'm going to do two, but I'm actually going to talk about three projects, are actually done by students from the masters for their dissertation under the supervision of our staff. So the first part of doing AI for good is to try to facilitate AI projects free of charge by students. But in the same time, it's actually good for the students because it's actually provides them with exposure to real life projects rather than actually using just the classroom examples. What we do is we provide students with real life projects with dirty data and dirty real life situation, so to speak. Now, we do have also an annual event called the AI Forum, although it's an annual one-day event in May. What we try to do with the AI Forum is to develop a platform for meeting between the academia and people in industry and the community to try to find better ways for using AI and also mitigate against any of the challenges posed by the advent of AI. So without further ado, I'm just going to very briefly discuss why we're talking about AI. I think everybody's talking about AI, and if you're not talking about AI, AI is talking about you. It's surrounding your life. It's taking over, not in a physical sense, but in most of the electronic and digital life and online life that you're going through is actually now governed, influenced, or has an undercurrent of AI.
Professor Tillal, can I just ask, if you're sharing screens, we can't see them if you're meant to be sharing slides.
Oh, thank you very much for...
It's fine. I wasn't sure if you were meant to be, but I just thought I'd
I
better mention
meant
it
to do
sooner.
that. Yes, I meant to do that.
There we go.
Okay, so this is the slides where I'm actually showing the MSc and the forum. Nothing much other than the link for it. So yeah, thank you for alerting me. Okay, now, so we know AI is actually shaping the industry in healthcare, finance, education, traveling, logistics, defense, all kind of environmental management. So AI is influencing all these aspects. And the term AI for good is about intentionally using AI intentionally to create a positive impact. And that's a very important thing, is that your intention. Now, obviously, the risk is sometimes you have good intentions, but the outcome could be opposite to that. But we will talk about this later. What's important is the use of AI for doing good. That's what we need to focus on. And we also need to consider AI as an extension to humanity rather than replacement, because you will find so many people say, AI is going to take over my job. That shouldn't be the case. It should be about extending the ability of humanity, but also reducing bias and inequality in many aspects of life. And the AI is growing rapidly. In fact, it's growing exponentially. What we are talking about now in terms of AI wasn't there 3 years ago, and what is going to take place 3 years later is going to be completely different from what we're discussing now from a technological perspective. but we need to ensure equitable use rather than monopolizing it within a certain group of people or hands. So what are the important factors for successful AI? First of all, AI, it's not really about the analytics. To have a successful AI program or system, it's about your data. I think the word intelligence could be actually misleading. AI is not intelligent, but it's very good in manipulating huge amount of data and giving you outcomes. So if your data is good, the outcome will be good. If your data is not good, then the outcome is not going to be very much useful. AI will not create something that from nothing. You have to have good data to support it. And most of the companies and organizations that we talk to when they come and ask for AI, firstly, we ask them about the boring bit, which is how do you collect and store and keep your data? And also it's about efficient utilization of AI, of technologies. It's very important to consider that AI is, as much as it's data hungry, it's also power hungry. And we need to identify better ways and much more streamlined ways of using technology to support AI. Fair access, that's a very important aspect of AI because if some people or a group of people using AI and the others are not, then that the other people will have a much more competitive and even more dominant impact on the other people. And people need to think about people-oriented AI. So AI for the sake of serving people rather than the other way around. We need to think about new evaluation methods. It is not similar to the old information systems where we use standard evaluation methods. It requires new ways, new paradigm of thinking, a new paradigm of information flow. And I will repeat this, AI is no substitute for intelligent thinking. AI is an extension of thinking, but it is not for innovation, for creating something from scratch. Now, what do we need to think about in terms of challenges? First of all, over expectations. Sometimes people think if you put AI in your organization or within the community, it will solve all problems. We need to manage our expectation in this aspect. Security is a very big issue with AI because the same tool that you brought to support you could be a problem for you. Storage capacity, it goes as technology and AI is expanding exponentially, the storage requirements for it is equally expanding exponentially. Skills, because of the rapid change of the technology of AI, skills, we need to update our skills continuously, and we need to find different ways other than the traditional education to allow people to update their skills continuously. And the most important challenge to AI is when we apply old thinking to the new technology. So AI is providing some useful information, but we shouldn't apply the old thinking to handle it. So AI for good. Why are we talking about AI for good after identifying the importance of AI challenges? What's the issue here? So AI, as because that's an important phenomenon in the world, is emerged in the UN ITU's 2017 initiative linking AI to SDGs to improve healthcare outcomes, supporting education, enhance sustainability, and foster economic growth. So that's a very optimistic objective for AI to support humanity and the world. But when we think about these elements, we need to consider the challenges I've just mentioned, and also the enablers before that. It will not work by itself. It's not a magical wand that actually, you do it and says. So without trying to build up expectation or create a over expectation, I'm going to talk about, I mentioned the equality, fair access, and the challenges. About 3 projects that we have done with the students to show how you can actually use AI for good, and what is good and what is AI in that sense. So the 3 cases that I'm actually going to be talking about, one in Nigeria for pandemic preparation, one in Democratic Republic of Congo for helping the plight of Banya community, and the last one in the United Kingdom, sorry about this spelling mistake there, who's supporting SMEs. Now, like I said, I don't want to imagine that we have actually sorted, for example, the pandemic issues in Nigeria in this project, but we identified some tools and skills that you can actually use to improve your preparedness in Nigeria and developing countries in general. So during the COVID time, vaccine allocation faced challenges such as limited supply, weak infrastructure, data inconsistency. So in this case, we use simulation and AI to try to compensate for some of these challenges. Now, how can we actually explain these challenges? The data challenges faced by LMICs, lower middle income countries, and using Nigeria as an example. First of all, data scarcity and fragmentation. Data is not collected on routine basis, and it's always missed, and incomplete health records. So even if you start collecting data, the record itself is incomplete. You'll find some missing records, but also within the existing records is actually missing information. Poor internet connectivity. Now, internet 25 years ago, internet connectivity used to be a luxury. Right now, internet connectivity is a necessity for, it's almost like a national security issue. You have to have internet connectivity to try to communicate and flow the information. Outdated systems and lack of digital health tools. Now, this is although I'm talking about Nigeria, this is actually a common situation in many developing countries and even developed countries. That's it's a major issue. There are weak regulatory frameworks and unclear data sharing because of the sensitivity of data. Do you share this data? You don't share this data. Who owns the data? There is lack of clarity in that, and also inconsistency in general, multiple duplications. So these are very challenges facing in Nigeria and many LMICs in terms of data. So this is an example here where the blue bar shows the missing data, and you will see that at the bottom, for example, hospital beds data information, we have 100% is completely unknown. Nurses per midwife per 1,000 patients, 60% unknown. Physicians, in terms of the number of physicians, 58, almost 60% is missing, and so on. So, and these are very important variables that are actually missing for you to estimate, for example, vaccination and distribution of effort and logistics. And if you want to meet pandemics, any kind of pandemic, if you don't have complete picture, it will be very difficult for you to manage the pandemic. So what have we done? So what we did with with some collaborators from Nigeria and UK HSA, which is Health Safety, Health Security Agency, uh, as the health system data gaps include hospital beds, staff, and vaccine. What we did, we used AI. We use a technique called techniques, which are actually called imputation techniques. Which actually you use the existing fragmentation or fragmented data as a base, and then you use AI to try to generate artificial data that will then close and bridge the gaps between between these fragments. There are things like forward, backward filling of time series. So time series is a is an analytical tool that will show the sequence of behavior over time. And sometimes you will not find the whole series, we'll find just a little part of it, parts here, some parts here. So we use AI to try to fill the gap backward and forward in the time and timeline, and also mean and median imputation for continuous variables, where you have things that actually occurring over time, linear interpolation for vaccine rates. So I mean, you don't need to go deeper into the techniques and how they work. What is important here is to understand that we patched up the missing data using AI, and then we built a simulation of using the artificial data and see how things can actually work out in real life. As there's no pandemic now, so we build a simulation, see if we use these AI techniques during the pandemic, what's going to happen. So we modeled 5 scenarios. The first scenario is baseline, no vaccination, nothing changed. Scenario 2, we change of the sequence, so we prioritize elderly. In the scenario 2, we are working age first, and then scenario 4, healthcare workers first, and scenario 5, combined strategy, which is a mixture between elderly and working age and healthcare workers. So the simulation gave us some results. You'll find that, excuse me. So scenario 1 is actually when we have no vaccination. You'll find that this is the total hospitalization of patients according to the 5 scenarios at the bottom. I don't know if I can actually, let me see if I can, yeah. So you'll find the scenarios at the bottom here, and then the outcomes in each of these bars. So you'll have total hospitalization, total infection. Obviously, there is no control over infections, but obviously, if you do vaccination, it will have some reduction on infection. But the management of hospitals and reduction of death, this is the final outcome that you're actually looking for. So you'll find that scenario 2, which is elderly first, and the scenario 5, which is a combined, are the best ones in working in reducing death. What's important here is sometimes when you have 2 scenarios working the same, it becomes less of analytics, more of ethical question. Which one do you do? You do scenario 5, where you have combined strategy, or you do scenario 2, where you have older people first. As analytics people, we try to avoid answering ethical questions because that's not your job. That's a very important for being successful. Analytics don't answer ethical questions or try to avoid answering ethical questions. The second case is the Banya-Mulinga case. So Banya-Mulinga is a is a small community in the heart of Democratic Republic of Congo, and have been subjected to applied prosecution by surrounding communities for so many purposes, reasons. Could be economic or racial, or regardless of what the reasons were and who is right and who is wrong. This group has been subjected to almost ethnic cleansing throughout the last 100 years, but not many people know about it. I'm not quite sure whether anybody have heard the word Banya Malinga before. Even if any of the audience, please raise your thumb if you heard of the word Banya Malinga. I don't know. So I'm not seeing any hands raised.
I certainly haven't heard of them.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So but you hear about Rohingya, you hear about stuff in Myanmar, you hear about Gaza, you hear about all kind of communities and wars and local issues, but you don't hear about the Bani Malinga. So they came to us and they said they want their voice to be heard. Because there is limited global awareness of the Bani Malinga prosecution in the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. And we looked at the use and the potentials of social media to raise awareness and advocating for their case. However, we needed to understand the objective or the aim of this one is to understand how you can actually use social media analytics to raise the voice and make the people be heard. And to do that, you have to explore how it's working for other communities or similar communities, and then map that into the Banyamlinga and equip them with the ability to do that. And we're using AI to support, because the data here, it's not just numbers. Data here is text, videos, voice clips, and various vlogs. So it's very difficult to actually generate a picture without the use of AI to do this. And we have some students working on this, similar to the previous project. And we will be looking at various social media platforms like YouTube, Twitter, X, TikTok, and Facebook. We will then perform sentiment analysis, topic modeling, and engagement trends. This is basically you're trying to see how the sources of the information and the messages are actually behaving, but also how people are receiving it, because the reception of this, and even just likes and comments will show you the trend and the level of spread amongst different users around the world. So we want then help them to identify how you can create relevant contents and spread these contents in various places. So technical approach, we're going to be looking at LLMs. What is important here is that if you look at a community like Banya Mlinga, they speak certain language that may not be understandable by many people. So we want to look at, can we use AI to try to then create a cohesion of the several languages spoken, and then develop a cohesive message to support this community, so that their voice will be heard and provide better access to their case. And nowadays, if the voice is heard, then something will be done. Now, we have not completed this project. We are at the beginning. We're working with the people. So this is a plan. And So work package one, we are going to we are currently working on the data collection and pre-processing, and then we will look at the second work package, which is AI, social media driven analytics, and then develop a strategic advocacy in terms of content and distribution, and to be then given to the people to actually do it themselves. That's the intention of this project. So what are the potentials? I think what it's going to help them develop an interactive dashboard for NGOs and advocacy, integrate, and this is the most important objective here, integrate the multilingual sentiment analysis capability, because in West Africa, it's mostly French, East Africa, English, and then you have the local languages, and then you have the world, Chinese, European languages. So it's a multifaceted situation and multilingual situation, and we're trying to create a single message out of that. So we're hoping we will be able to develop a platform to bring all of these together. And then if we are able to come up with a useful, transferable framework, can we actually then uh, spill it over to other marginalized or unheard groups to ensure that the people who are actually very poor, uh, not allowed access, they can actually have their voice heard about it. So coming back to the UK, which is exactly around Bradford area, this is an SME. They develop solutions to accounting firms. What they're trying to do is many people now they run businesses and they submit tax returns. Small companies, big organization, even individuals. However, sometimes it's very complex and they need to buy some software to support them do that. Now, what it's not clear when you go and buy this software, obviously you need a demo to show you how your data can be, how you fill the information with data and how you use then calculate your taxes and so on, or taxes will be calculated. But if you are a business, there are so many businesses, big, small, and in different industries. And if you have a single demo, it will be very difficult for, if you have a demo about finance company and you are a hairdresser, it will be very difficult for you to understand how that is working. So what this company asked us is to develop, using AI, a system where, depending on the nature and the form and the size of the business and the industry, is to then pick the right demo for them so that they can understand using synthetic data, because we cannot reuse real data given security aspects and privacy and so on. So we need to develop a generative system that will generate financial simulated data, and then we ensure that it has similarity and relevance to the person and to the business, and then further on supporting tests. So what we did, we looked at so many companies. I think we provide like 10,000 or even I think 100,000 companies returns, and then we used AI to help develop simulated data for each industry, depending on the size, if it's so many variables, and then the people can access this system and then generate the relevant data, and we are integrating it with companies like Zero. What's a unique value proposition for this SME? So we have developed the system for them, with hyper-personalized data, support the demo, realistic data, very realistic, very relevant, but also preserving the design, keeping the IP, and the company. They are now ready to launch, to commercially launch this project, but now they're working on obviously developing some augmentation to make it commercially viable. And we did this from the university with the students for free, but under our supervision. And that's what's supporting the company for their work. So now I spoke about three various examples, different examples, policy making in developing country, community, applied support using AI to support the plight of a community, or support a community to defend itself, or at least make itself heard, supporting a local company that doesn't have the resources to buy skills or AI solutions. And for us, that's the definition of AI for good. Some recommendations, I will conclude with some of the recommendations here. First of all, you need to invest in local data systems, because communication, AI is power hungry, and there'll be more and more usage and utilization of AI, whether in developed countries like the UK or developing countries like Democratic Republic of Congo. And the transfer of data is very energy consuming. So that's we need to consider. Engage communities in AI design. It shouldn't be something in the lab anymore. AI development needs to be brought out there, and foster digital skills in LMIC, and it should not be monopolized only by developed countries. And thank you very much. I hope I aimed for 40 minutes and I ended in 40 minutes, but I'm sure it's actually probably less than 40 because we started a little bit later.
No, that was perfect, Tillal. It was really, really interesting. Thank you for that. I have taken all of the attendees now have the option to use their microphone and their cameras. So if anyone wants to ask questions, you can unmute yourselves. But obviously, as we said, you can use the chat as well. Whilst people just have a little think about any questions they might have, I just wanted to say that it was really interesting to hear you say that internet access is kind of almost a national security issue, because we did a talk for World Engineering Day with some colleagues from Ahlia University in Bahrain, and they were talking about Internet of Things and how so much of our daily infrastructure now is kind of online in some shape or another. And so thinking about internet access as a necessity was really, really interesting, actually, and just kind of brought that to mind. But I just had a question about, you also said right at the start that artificial intelligence is only as good as what we put into it and the data that we give it. And I just wanted to kind of ask you if, I guess, a part of including marginalized communities in AI research is also about making sure that they have the chance to kind of speak to the data we're using and ensure that it's free of biases, I imagine, and kind of includes their perspective. I'm not sure if there's any researchers online who are actively involved in AI research, but if you had kind of any ways that they need to think about those things, or any comments on that.
I think it's a good question, and it's very difficult to avoid the bias of AI, because the more we're trying to make AI accessible to people, the more it will pick up the bias that is generated by people. So it will not go away. However, complex systems are self-organizing. So when the bias will take care of itself by the bias and the anti-bias from the different people, then that will neutralize it. I think at this point it's very important to have the access and then we can deal with the bias. We will not be wise to try to solve all the problems before you start your first step.
Okay, yeah.
You're going to have to generate problems. For example, we know if the Banya Moringa community have better access to online, we know that we're going to move some of the plight and persecutions that's taking place on the ground. We're going to move it online.
Yeah.
So we're going to move to harassment. We're going to move to cyberbullying and all of that. But that does not mean we should keep things on the ground there. We probably need to bring it and then show the world, allow them to show the world what is taking place.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Professor Eldabi? Feel free to pop it in the chat or just come off mute.
I can see some colleagues from our department here.
They might not have questions for you if they work with you then.
Yes.
Liz, you've got your hand up?
I do. Thank you, Tillal. That was really interesting. And I was just super pleased to see that the projects that you were focusing on were case studies from your master's projects. I think it's a testament to the kind of work and the quality of work that we can deliver through those really authentic projects. And I suppose my question, and feel free to say you don't have an answer, Tillal, you can always follow up by email, is how do we manage the tension between using AI for good within our businesses and making sure that we continue to use it for good as opposed to shortcuts within our businesses and our research? I feel there is this tension between using it to pursue business agendas, because actually we can do things so much quicker using AI resources. We can, I went the other day to buy a card, Moonpig, and I said, do you want to generate the text by AI? And I goes, no, it's all right, I can do it myself. But everything is being offered as AI generated to inspire us, to save us time. The convenience is definitely there. But how do we continue to use it in such a way that we don't encourage shortcuts where sometimes we need to go through the steps, and research is very much about going through the steps. So that tension, Tillal.
Yeah, Liz, thank you very much. Another good question, and the short answer, I don't know. I'm much more, answer with effort is I would say, it's very difficult because as much as AI is making it easy to do good, it's also making it easy to do bad. And I think there needs to be more engagement between AI in the computers and the development of AI in computer science departments and business and social science and anthropology of modern life scientists to try to. It's more of intention, to be honest, and willingness to actually. AI is a tool, and you can do something good with it, but also you can do something bad with it. But we need to define what is good and what is bad in this case. So, for example, shortcutting, writing a card using AI, is that a bad thing? Responding through it, then writing an email using AI, is that bad or good? What's the ethical line that we need to draw? I use AI, I use ChatGPT in supporting in writing in many aspects, and actually made my life much easy. But now, I think what I'm insisting on is I control the outcome. I don't let it to control me. I don't sit back and say, write me this, and then I sign it off. I draw up the idea. I control what needs to be said. I have an intention of the output and the final frame of the text, and then I let it just fill the gaps. So I think if we want to, step number one is to teach people, students, is to think before use rather than use and then think.
Yeah, I get that. I think there's going to be research in the future, if it's not already happening, with regards to the intentions behind the use of AI and that aspect of behavior change. And certainly I agree with you, Tillal. It's, I think, easier and I think more more ethical to use AI when you already have the fundamentals in place, like research, searching for data, using the skills. Then based on your example, you're utilizing it to sort of refine and polish, which I think is absolutely fine. I wonder moving forward, if we're going to have more applications of AI, will it be less use for good and more use along some very blurred lines in that respect? But let's just see. The future sounds interesting on that front.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is we're gonna have more good people or bad people. That's
Well, I don't even know. It's down to people, Tillal.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
It's
indeed.
all about the machines at the minute.
Yes, the world is turning into a machinized world.
Thank you, Liz. Shahid Rasool's just put his hand up, but there is also a question in the chat. So if you don't mind, Shahid, we'll do the question in the chat and then we'll come to you. So the question was from Lambros Viennas. It says, thank you for your presentation, Tillal. What challenges to power instability and network shortages, recent examples in Spain, pose to the performance and expansion of extensive IoT and AI systems, particularly when they rely on uninterrupted real-time data and analytics?
Obviously, it's a huge challenge, but there's a lot of research being done in trying to reduce the capacity to transfer data and making the data transfer require less energy, and also solar systems in remote areas and wireless more than wired, fiber optics. So it's going to be, all the satellites. So obviously, if there's no power, nothing's going to happen. But now there is research in trying to use the same amount of AI and data, but with less power to reduce the reliance on a huge amount of power. Because although AI is used to try to support environment and climate change and everything, using it is also danger to the environment because it is power hungry as much as it's data hungry.
Yeah. Perfect, thank you. Shahid, I've lost you on my screen, but if you want to come off mute, feel free to ask your question now.
Hi, Tillal. Yeah, fascinating. I've learned more about AI in the last half an hour than I knew, so thank you for that. A question from me. So I've attended another presentation, and it's really about the challenge of the values of the LLMs. And at current, this is one of the big challenges we have, that the data set they're trained on and partly the algorithms behind that they designed are very much biased towards the West. And there's data showing this. And the research this gentleman was doing he's from HEC Paris, was trying to see what the issue is. And so two things came around. Number one, there's a bias with this ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, etc. And the second is that no matter what you do, English is still the best language to use at the moment. So that was interesting in light of the thing you were saying about the ethics of things. So the ethics is a big issue here. I mean, I get why you said stick to the data because that's a data analyst, but the ethics is a big issue. And how do you go about, in your particular case, fascinating, which are all around the world, different cultures, etc. How do you handle that? It's quite fascinating. You might not have the answer. I know this is pushing things.
Yeah.
So I'm just it came across that's a really interesting conundrum, if you like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the answer to any of the questions asked today, which I think I think that's good because I just generated more questions. But and that's what I mentioned in my the last conclusion, and the last word I had is, despite all the other things that people can do, what's important is to equip and develop skills in LMICs and in developing countries. Let them develop skills of AI and developing LLMs, their own LLMs, to democratize the spread of AI, because like I said earlier, it will give you what you give it. So if the data is based on English, it will be, more biased to the English and English-speaking communities and so on. So if, all these marginalized communities, if they're allowed and given access, and then they provide their own approach to life and their own linguistic, languages and so on, then it will enrich it. And the reason it's biased to the West is because there are more people using it in the West. And that's why we want to, you have to improve equal access and also, understanding by all communities. Obviously, when I say I have to, but you just try these different projects. Nobody has to do anything.
And that's why your point about internet access is
Yes,
so critical now.
it's very important. Very, very important.
Very, very important to
You're off.
democratize.
If you're offline, you're outside.
Okay, that's a good quote. We'll keep that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tillal. Good.
Thank you. Thank you, Shahid.
Thank you,
So
Shahid.
there is
Yeah, Liz has popped something in the chat. As students from these projects are planning to work with their supervisors, if not you, Tillal, to publish from these projects, that would be an amazing additional output from their master's programs, and well done for finding such interesting projects and international partners.
Yeah, yes. But I think it's the onus is on the supervisor to publish, because it's a very important point. But the students at this point, they may not be keen on publishing or interested or either understanding the importance of publishing, because they want to find a job. But the supervisor needs to, when they are working with the student, needs to think about this, writing a paper and as an outcome of this, because there's so many interesting projects I've noticed. I supervise about 10 maybe, but there are so many other students doing fantastic things, and we're going to look at this next year and see how we can actually collate these projects and make it publishable. Yes, yeah, supervisors, yeah, indeed. Supervisor's role is to, ensure some publications coming out of this.
I think if we just finish with, I'm just cautious that people might have places to go to, and you might also have places to go to, Tillal. But Shahid has just asked, what about students' use of AI? I think higher education policy is seriously lagging. I think that might be a nice place to end on as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's not higher education policy, it's education in general. Teachers, lecturers, and professors were actually teaching, and we are doing this. And I think Shahid was attending some of our sessions. We're trying to see how we can change the way we teach to cope with the change of AI. Because if we stick to our, legacy system, it's not going to help the students anymore.
Yeah, the world's changing, and with that, education and the way that we teach needs to change to match and to serve the students.
Yep, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Well, thank you so much for this session. It's been so interesting, and just to echo what Shahid said, I've definitely learned so much about artificial intelligence, and I'll definitely be thinking about it completely differently as I use it in my daily life and my work life. And on behalf of the WTUN as well, I'd just like to thank you for taking the time to share your expertise and these projects with us. And we really do look forward to hopefully seeing you again at a future webinar.
Thank you very much, Saffron and the attendees. And I'd like to thank the people who asked me the questions, because I learned myself some new things from these questions. And thank you all for the patience, and continue to listen to my talk.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you very much.